Hello everyone. We got some snow here in Chicago and there's currently about 8 to 10 inches of snow on the garden decks. So we're having an indoor day. And honestly, there's gonna be a lot of indoor days until it starts to warm up here. But just because I'm inside doesn't mean that there's a lack of garden activities. So I'm gonna go over what I do over the winter indoors in preparation either for next season or just some fun garden related activities. Before I do that, this video is gonna be posted Monday morning. Today, at noon, I'm going to be drawing a name from the YouTube comments of the previous video for a winner of a $100 Johnny Seed gift certificate. So if you have not left a comment there yet, do so before 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, let's dig into some of the fun winter garden activities. I'm going to start with the activities that are directly related to next year's garden, and then I'll go into some of the more fun ones. But what I do first every year is take out all of my seeds and see what seeds I have and then buy whatever seeds I need. Now, I, as a smaller gardener, smaller area garden, don't have as many seeds as probably most people, so this isn't a huge task for me, but I will take out all of my seeds, lay them out, and we will be doing this together very soon. I organize them by type of flower, whether it's a fruit or vegetable. I look at last year's growing list just to make sure I have all of the seeds for plants that I grew in 2025 that I want to grow in 2026. I will also look for seeds that maybe now I know I don't really want to grow that in my garden, and I will create a pile for seeds that I'm going to give away either to friends or people in the neighborhood. And then I'm also checking for any seeds that maybe are a little bit old and potentially the germination rate isn't going to be great. So maybe I need to get some new seeds, but I like to have all of my kind of must-have seeds purchased by the end of the year. So by the end of 2025 for 2026's garden. Does that mean I don't buy any seeds next year? Absolutely not, but my must-haves, I must have. So I want to make sure that I have the seeds before everyone starts shopping in spring and some of my favorite varieties get sold out. So that is usually the first thing I do to get organized for next year's garden. The next task is to go through all of my garden supplies. Again, as a smaller space gardener, I don't have as much as one might have. So I have a closet inside where I keep everything. I will take all of it out, lay it on the table, go through everything, see again what I'm maybe not using anymore to give away, things that I need to have every season. Maybe I have a certain fertilizer that I really love. I will also try to purchase that before the New Year's just so I know that I have everything. And then this is a place I desperately need to organize. One, because it tends to get dirty because all of the stuff that I use in the garden I will toss back in the closet. And also it gets very disorganized because I just start chucking things wherever. The closet starts out so beautiful and so organized at the beginning of the season, and then is basically a complete mess by the end of the season. So I will take everything out, get everything organized, put it back. It's such a breath of fresh air to have that all neat and tidy, because I feel like once I start seeds, I basically stop paying attention to anything that isn't seed related. So I need to get this done before that happens. After I've gone ahead and organized all my seeds and organized all my garden supplies, the next thing I do is fill out my seed starting schedule. I usually do this around February. March is typically when I start my first round of seeds, so usually by February, I have the majority of the seeds that I'm going to include in that year's garden. It's basically a spreadsheet, and I will link a video down below showing how I use it, and it also has a link to a free template if you want to download your own. Basically, I will list all of my seeds, all of the growing information, and then there are some formulas in there that will tell me, based on my last frost date, when I need to start the seeds, whether it's indoors or outdoors. It can take a little bit of time the first time you do it, but it's not as time consuming for me now because I do grow so many things, again, year after year, so those just stay in my seed starting schedule for the following year. I love a spreadsheet that you can organize and sort. There is also a column in the spreadsheet that I use to say where I'm going to plant the seeds in my garden. So over winter, I'll think this is going to be my zinnia bed. This is going to be where I plant my cosmos. But those plans, I'd say I stick to about 50-50. So I always do plan out where things are going to go in my garden. Some of them do, some of them don't, but at least I get to dream about the 2026 garden, whether it actually turns out as I had previously planned. And then finally, I just get my seed starting station set up. I will do this in February also to make sure all of my lights work, to see if I need any more seed starting material. I don't want to realize on the day that I'm supposed to start seeds that I don't have something that I need to actually start the seeds. I also, in the spreadsheet, will put any information about like stratification, just so I'm making sure I have everything prepared beforehand by the time it's actually ready to start planting the seed. Those are the very garden-specific tasks that I do to get ready for next year. But now let's go into some of the garden-related activities that I also do over the winter. First is pay attention to my houseplants. I started with houseplants. That was my first kind of introduction into the plant world and getting addicted to plants. But I always knew I loved gardening from growing up. So once I had my outdoor space, my attention kind of shifted away from my houseplants to my garden. And honestly, during the garden season, which I count as from when I first start my seeds, so from March until November, I don't pay a lot of attention to my houseplants. And some of them, like this one right here, probably need a little bit of TLC. I also know that I have at least one plant that is dead that I need to remove and probably get a replacement for. So over time, I've gone away from houseplants that are a little bit higher maintenance to houseplants that are very low maintenance, like pothos and philodendrons. That makes up probably the majority of my plants. So over winter, I will go through all of my houseplants. I will hopefully try to fix the ones that look a little bit rough. The ones that look good, you know, I'm still watering them probably on like a, I'd say in the winter, maybe like a 2 to 3 week basis based on how large the pot is. I definitely have to water less in the winter than I do in the summer. I do have some trailing plants that I need to actually put on the wall where they're supposed to trail. I have some empty pots that I want to put plants in, so I am going to go houseplant shopping as well. But houseplants get 4 months of my attention before it all goes back to the garden. The next thing I do is try to go down some sort of garden rabbit hole every winter. Just find one thing that I want to learn about that is really exciting to me. This year it's going to be pansies. Again, that's the previous video where you should leave a comment to win the gift certificate. So I've already read the book that I have on pansies. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to start the pansies. We're going to learn as much as we can, watch a bunch of YouTube videos, and that is the hole I'm choosing to go down this winter. Other things I've done, I have taken a botanical drawing class that was online through the Chicago Botanic Garden. So if you're in the area, they do have in-person classes. If you're not in the area, they do have online classes, and it was really great. I learned a lot about drawing in general that I just never really learned before. And since I took that class, I do still just sit around and draw sometimes, not as much during the garden season, but that is probably something I'll do a little bit more of during the winter. But definitely check either the Chicago Botanics website, any botanic garden near you that might have some online classes. I find that's a really great way to still feel some sort of attachment to the garden, even if everything is covered in snow. Winter is also the time when I finally start reading all of the garden books that I collect throughout the year. I have a lot of books. Again, probably not as many as most people, but more than I have actually read. In fact, I've probably read 15% of the books that I have. So I will go through and try to pick like a book per month to go through. Some of the books I will read bits at a time. Like if I have a book where it talks about, I don't know, 20 different varieties of a plant, I'll read about one every so often. And then I have some books that are just storybooks that are garden related that I will read through as well. So I need to start reading all of the books that I have been collecting. Also, my magazines, I am usually good at reading my magazines on time, but this is the time where if I have some from fall or I'm starting to get some with winter ideas, I go through those. So I do try to read at least a handful of my garden books by the time that the season starts over again. I also have some books that are really fun that are monthly books, not necessarily activities that you should be doing each month, but like journals of gardens month over month. And I'll read January's in January, February's in February, and so on throughout the season. But I like really old, well, I have a mix of new and old books. I love going to old bookstores or thrift stores and finding really old books. Those can be fun to read on gardening or houseplants. So if you have books lying around that you haven't read yet, it might be a good time to finally crack those open. Next is to actually make things with all of the plants that I have dried or all the flowers that I have pressed. So I dry a good amount of flowers, also herbs. Most of them, even though they are completely dry, are still just hanging up. So I'll go through and I will take all of the leaves off of my herbs. I will put them in storage jars and then I will use them in tea over the winter. If I have, for example, like oregano, I might make some salt mixture that has some oregano in it, but this is when I actually use all of the things that I have dried. As far as flowers, I know this year I'm going to make a dried flower wreath. Last year, well, the last few years I made a dried flower Christmas tree, but I just don't feel like it this year, so I'm not going to. We're gonna be out of town a little bit more than we typically are in December, but you can use your dried flowers in your holiday decor. This is also when I go through all my pressed flowers. So I've used pressed flowers in the past for making cards, whether it's holiday cards, birthday cards. I'll often use it for decorating the bags for gifts. And then sometimes when I send mail, I'll just put like a little flower on the outside. It doesn't always get through the mail in one piece, but sometimes they do, and those can be really pretty. And then I'm also, something that I love that I've made is a dried flower lantern. So a clear jar, putting some dried flowers on it. I will link the video down below of the one that I made last year. It's a super easy project and it turns out beautifully. So then this is also the time when I go through the craft books that I have. I think these are maybe the only two that I have right now. So I have Crafting with Herbs and then I have the Wild Craft. This one, I've already gone through and marked the different things that I might want to make. I need to go through this book. I have not read this one yet. So I will go through these and then anything that seems interesting, I am going to make. So any of the craft ideas that spark my interest is what I'll do over winter. Also, if I have something that I'm not sure what to do with, I will Google how to use dried straw flowers, for example, and then you can find a bunch of ideas for what to use those dried flowers for. The final two things are activities I do to get myself out of the house. I am a person who loves being outdoors. When I'm indoors for too long, I definitely can feel the difference in my mood, especially this winter. It's been very cloudy so far. I haven't really seen much of the sun. So it is important, at least for me, to get outside. So one, I do go on walks. I do not like the cold weather. I am not a cold weather person, but I still find that going on a walk in the cold still makes me feel better than being stuck in the house. But I will layer 3 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, 2 pairs of socks. I have a thing that goes over my whole face except for my eyes so that I can go outside. But I find that it is really important, at least for me over the winter, to get outside a little bit. If you don't really want to be in the cold weather, you can go to some conservatories. In Chicago, I usually go to the Lincoln Park Conservatory the most just because it's the closest one to me, but also the Garfield Park Conservatory. If you are in Chicago and you have not been there, go there. Or if you're visiting Chicago, go there. It's huge. And you feel like you're outside because the sun, if it's sunny, can shine through the glass house and you can just walk around and be warm and see the color green and remember what it's like to be warm and happy. So I definitely take trips to the conservatory over the winter more than I do in the summer. Also in Chicago, there is the Peggy Notebart Nature Museum, which is just fun to walk around in general, but they have a butterfly room where you can go in, and again, it's glass windows, so you can feel like you're outside. There's a bunch of plants and there's just butterflies flying around. So getting a little bit of that I am outdoor feeling while also feeling warm and not freezing. Just for me, I need to be outside, and usually during the garden season, I'm starting and ending my days both in the garden. So I want to still find ways to get out there, even if the temperature is not what I typically enjoy. So those are the main things that I do every winter. I will definitely take you along with me as I do the organizational tasks. If I make any fun crafts, I will film that as well. Let me know down below if you do anything else kind of garden or plant adjacent in the winter. I will also take you along as I try to save some of my houseplants. I actually have some fun houseplants too, so I'll show those as well and which ones survive through my neglect. But let me know what you do during the winter down below. If you live somewhere where it's warm over the winter, you don't need to let me know that. Make sure if you haven't to leave a comment in the previous video for the gift certificate, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.